Get ready to open your mind. Drones! They're no longer science fiction anymore. We're using drones to explore unknown new worlds. They're being tested on lonely highways and above. From the early days of radio-controlled hobbyists to missions on Mars and beyond, drones are already here, impacting our world from unmanned tasks in supermarkets to mapping our communities and saving lives. Drones create fantastic new ways to explore and discover. Programmed to operate in other worlds and flown with tomorrow's technology today, drones are changing our world. Join us and open your mind to drone technologies.
Thank you, Uda. Uda is the unmanned teaching assistant here at Drone Education Services. My name's Lamar Ellis, and I am a drone pro here in the state of Georgia. That means I'm part of the FAST team with the FAA. I'm also the treasurer of AUVSI for the Atlanta chapter. I've got over 30 years of real estate valuation experience, and in 2014, that's when I discovered aerial inspections, and my life has changed since. Today is day number 2 of National Drone Safety Awareness Week. It's November 17th, 2020, and today we're going to be discussing the airspace is clear, but are you ready to fly? So let's get started. Again, here we are, day number 2, improve your flying skills. So, I did an 11-month project where I flew almost daily looking at the construction of a brand new home. And during that time of flying those multiple missions, I ran into a lot of issues outside of what you can find on the FAA's UAS website. And as I was discovering those things, I put them together in this little webinar that I could share with you. So we're going to do today a residential inspection. We're going to accept an assignment. We're going to plan a mission, do a pre-flight checklist, set up an LTZ, stands for landing and takeoff zone, and then we're going to fly the mission, and hopefully we're going to bring that drone back safely. So let's get started. I normally will take out a toolbox, my drone, a safety vest, cones, my controller, a tablet, a landing pad, and also a construction helmet just in case I need it. So the first thing I'll do is I'll put on my safety vest because I want people to know who I am and why I'm there. It also allows me to have that little bit of independence when I'm out on the site. Next, I take my drone out, make sure that all the parts are working, and get rid of all the clamps that could impede the progress of the camera. Next, I'll turn on my controller, make sure that my display unit is working right, turn the drone on, and then I'm calibrating it to make sure that it knows where it is. I'll finally get it off the ground, and I'll hover it for a little bit just to do that final check of the equipment and transmission signal before I send it out on its mission. And then all of a sudden, I'm out there flying the property and getting some great photographs and videos to be used in reports, because like I said, I'm a real estate valuation expert. So one of the things that I've learned is that the first thing I'll do when accepting an assignment is I'll identify the location. I'll make sure that I've got cleared airspace, and if I have to get it permissions, I will find the permissions needed to be able to fly. Now, there are multiple apps that are out on the market that you can use, and I like to use a redundant number of apps when I'm trying to get my airspace clear. Why? Because sometimes I have found that the apps will conflict with each other. So a rule of thumb is that if one of my apps or internet or maps says that I might have difficulty flying a project, I'll actually go back and do further research to either discover why I can't fly and the permissions that I need, or I'll make sure that the airspace is clear and that the app was wrong or the internet was wrong as far as the information that it was giving me. So the first thing I'll do once I'm at the site is I'm going to make sure that my aircraft is ready to fly. I'm checking the airframes and the connections. I'm looking for any loose parts. I'm checking to see if there are any broken parts that need to be replaced. I'm also making sure that my firmware is updated and that my transmission signals are strong. Now, what is firmware? Firmware is usually a upgrade done by the manufacturer that they send out to your drone before you can take it off to flight. Now, I have been in situations where I have been away from my home base and I've had to put a firmware update before I could actually take it off to fly the mission. One of the things that I have discovered is that before you actually leave your house and your Wi-Fi connections, you should check to see that your firmware is updated and that you are ready to fly. Now, another thing is that if you're ever having to replace any of the parts or make any upgrades to your equipment, that's a good time to log that into your maintenance logbook, because, you know, keeping a maintenance logbook is going to be necessary for future flights. So be aware that logbooks are very, very good things to keep up to date. Next, I am making sure that everything I have is charged. Now, you'd be surprised. Most people will go out there with just their batteries charged, but what about your tablet? What about your cell phone? Controller? Battery charger? Well, why would I put battery charger down? Because you can actually charge your tablets, cell phones, and controllers in the field with battery chargers. And I also like to keep extra chargers in the car so that I can charge the drone batteries when I'm on site. Believe it or not, when you're flying multiple missions over a 13-hour period, you're going to burn through some batteries. And the one battery that I really started to burn through the most that I couldn't recharge when I was out there was my tablet. Now, why is that important? Because my tablet serves as my display screen to show me what I am looking at when I'm at the site. So I always made sure that before I went to bed at night, I was making sure that my tablet and my cell phone were on the charger, that my batteries were all fully charged, and that I had multiple battery chargers when I was out at the site so that I could use them to make sure that I could keep charges in my controllers, cell phones, and tablets. Next, do you have the skill set to handle the mission? Now, everybody feels like the drone can do a lot of work and do it right and do it probably better. However, it does take a little bit of skill for a successful operation. Now, what do I mean by that? Do you have the training and experience to be able to handle what you're doing? Do you understand what risk mitigation is? So let me tell you, risk mitigation is making sure that when you're out at the site, you're not going to hit anybody or anything. You're not going to do any damage, and you're not going to put yourself into a position where you could possibly cause any damage to anybody or anything. So that all really boils down to common sense. And I'm telling you, as much experience and training as you have, there's nothing that is better than your own common sense. So if you're out there at the site and you know that you've flown this before and you're relatively confident in your skill level, your common sense might tell you that maybe it's a little windy that day, or maybe there's some birds in the area, or maybe there's some people in the area that you need to be concerned about. So obviously you need to have the skill sets available to be able to handle the mission, but always rely on your common sense. How about data retrieval? Because capturing data is easy, but storing it can be kind of difficult, and then processing it can be kind of difficult. So you've got your storage capabilities of cloud storage, an SD card, maybe putting it on a live feed like to YouTube or Facebook where it's being recorded and is right there for the world to see, or you can put it on an external hard drive. So I use multiple storage capabilities. Why? Because I believe in redundancy. I can't tell you how many times that my data will get lost in one system and I'll have it on another. So for the 11-month project, I still have all the SD cards that I flew on it. I've got 3 external hard drives that's got the data, and a lot of the data is in cloud. And my drone can carry up to 16 gigs of stored cloud data. Now, when I start to go over 16, I've got my drone set so that it'll erase the oldest data. So if you're flying a lot of missions and you're doing a lot of things, your cloud storage may not be enough to hold on to your data when you're in the air. And also, you can pay for servers to get your cloud storage. There are a variety of different costs, a variety of different types of accessibility to being able to acquire that data. But you want to make sure that redundancy and having multiple sources to store that data. Why? Because you're going to have to post-produce that data eventually. And being able to find it is just as much the key as recording the data when you're out on the field. So it's mission day. It is your final check of airspace. Now, I'm a Part 107 pilot, which allows me to be part of FAA safety. Now, what is that? That is the FAA's notification capability, say the president's coming to town, or there's a football game, or something that is going on that's going to give me a TFR, which is a temporary flight restriction. So you see how those acronyms are starting to play into effect? You're going to have to understand those too. A TFR is a temporary flight restriction, and that is for a period of time that you're not going to be able to take your drone in the sky. Now, I have my apps, and my apps will sometimes tell me that I can fly when I can't because a TFR is in place. So there's another one of my redundant features, is getting an email message saying, can I fly? My drone even has capabilities to have a geofence on it that says whether I can or cannot fly. So your mission day is the day that you're waking up, you're making sure that your airspace is clear and that you're ready to go. But you might have all the skill levels, but do you feel like flying, or can you fly? I like to fly by the I'm safe rule. What's the I'm safe rule? Well, that's an acronym for illness, medication, stress, anxiety, fatigue, emotional. Every one of those items can affect your ability to take that drone in the sky and perform a safe mission, because bad conditions can affect your safe flight. So if you're not feeling well, that can affect your flight. If you're taking medication, that can affect your flight. Are you stressed? Are you anxious? Are you too tired to fly safely? Or are you under some sort of emotional strain that might prevent you from actually performing the mission to your utmost top grade capacity? Fly by the I am safe rule. Again, well, I'm bringing it up again. Common sense. You need to assess the conditions at the site. And do you see that I got risk mitigation right there in big bold letters? What can go wrong? A lot of pilots fly by the what can go wrong principle. Why the what can go wrong principle? Because if you try to look at a mission as to what can go wrong, you'll probably figure out how to do it right. And so you're trying to keep people and property safe. So you're looking at the site and you're going, are there any trees? Are there power lines? Are the weather conditions fine, such as it's not raining? Are there any people in the area? Do you need somebody for like crowd control? What about cloud cover? Is it hanging low? Because you have to have a 500-foot vertical distance from the clouds before you can take that drone off the ground. What about fog? Don't fly in fog. I did it once. You're supposed to have 3 statute miles of visibility on your drone. Well, that's negated with fog immediately. But the main thing is the condensation that can build up on the motors and components in your drone. Same with rain. You do not want to get your components wet. What happens if your motherboard inside your drone gets wet? It could short out. It could start functioning improperly. You could create an unsafe environment for yourself and for other people around you. You don't ever want to get yourself into a position where fog or rain or any kind of condensation can affect the ability for flight. Another thing down there is wind. What if the wind conditions are so great that you just cannot fly safely that day? Also, here's another thing, common sense wise. Well, I've been at sites before where the wind conditions have been tolerable to where I can fly, But you know what? They've been a little bit too strong for me to try to do up close inspections. So I'm keeping the drone a little bit further away. Common sense, that came through experience, and it came through training. And that training and experience made me realize that my common sense was, let's not fly close to that property, because the wind conditions are making my drone buffet around enough to where it's kind of scary. I fly by the expect the unexpected. Proper training and experience are essential, but you can't plan for the unexpected. What other aircraft? Birds, wind, loss of signal, low battery. You know, more accidents occur because of low batteries. Why does that happen? Because you're getting the great shot, or you're going to get that great shot, and you're pushing the drone beyond its capabilities. So your battery life doesn't last as long. The other thing is loss of signal. You know, what happens if you lose the signal to the drone? Do you have it preset to where it's going to come back to a safe location? I was actually in South Dakota. Now, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and that's across the United States, and I'm flying in South Dakota, and I look down and I see that my home point was set for Atlanta. So glad I didn't lose my signal that day, for sure. So you're ready for takeoff. 3, 2, 1, launch. You got your base of operations. Now I use a defined space that's level so that when I set the drone down and I turn the drone on, the components and sensors are on a level space, so they are working properly. I make sure that I have no overhead obstructions, because if I have to come back or I lose signal and it's pre-programmed to come back to its home base, then it has nothing to hit on its way back. Next, I walk the site, and I'm looking to see people, I'm looking to see trees, interference such as power lines, chimneys, antennas, things that might impede the ability to fly that property safely. And also, when I see the trees kind of tapping the side of a house, I know that that might be an area of inspection that I might want to get a little closer to look at. Next, I'm scanning the skies. I'm looking for air traffic. I fly in the city of Atlanta, so I've got air traffic of helicopters that are in the area at different times of the day. Now, I'm always trying to make sure that I keep my drone within line of sight. So when I'm out at a property looking at it, I'm trying to position myself to where I can always see the drone up there in the sky, because you have to have a clear line of sight. And another reason you want a clear line of sight is because it means you've got a good transmission signal between yourself and the drone. And finally, something that nobody ever talks about, I like to listen. Why? Because I might hear a helicopter far sooner than I'll see it. And I've had that happen on occasion. And you can hear the helicopter blades, bouncing off the trees, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's something coming in the area. And I'll bring the I'll bring the drone down to a safe level so that the helicopter is not going to be impeded by my flight. Last thing I want is to have my drone in the same airspace as a helicopter. I can't think, it's unimaginable the consequences of possibly harming people that are in a manned aircraft. So what's our flight in the air? Well, first off, I'm making sure that, I've got a good line of sight, and as the pilot in command, I'm responsible for everything, which means if I need a visual observer to help me out, I am responsible to make sure that visual observer has good communication with me. I'm also responsible to make sure that that visual observer has a clear line of sight on the drone, and that the operation runs smoothly. I've got situational analysis, such as, is the airspace safe? I've already done that by making sure the airspace was clear, but then I'm down there using my common sense saying, okay, windy conditions might be a little strong today, and I might not be able to fly as close to the property as I'd like. Then I want to make sure that I've got enough data retrieval systems so that I can get those pictures and videos and orthomosaics and panoramas and 3D modeling capabilities. Because what are you getting paid for normally when you're out at a site? You're getting paid for the data. You're not getting paid for your ability to fly. If you can capture the data that your clients want, you're going to be in business for a long time. And then finally, landing. Well, landing means mission complete. And if you land that drone safely and you haven't harmed anybody or anything, that's what I consider a successful operation. So it is key that you take that drone up and you make sure that you've got a successful mission. I'm hoping that the things that we've talked about are going to help you get to that point when you are actually out there flying properties. So in conclusion, it's just not about flying. There's more to using a drone than taking it out of the box and charging it up and sending it up to the sky. You can read all the books you want to on how to get clear airspace, or you can't fly over people, or fly at night, or fly over 100 miles an hour, or fly beyond line of sight. There are the operational rules that the FAA has, but getting that practical experience and training are essential to having safe operations. I hope I've been able to help you out today and to improve your skills at flying. My name is Lamar Ellis, and my company is DroneEducationServices.com. Please be sure to follow us on social media, and thank you so very much for your time, and join us. We've got 3 great programs for the rest of the week. Have a great day, fly safe, fly often, and have fun.